A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
My bitch a choosy lover, never fuck without a rubber. Never in the sheets like it on top of the cover. Money on the dresser, drive a compressor. Top notch hoes, get the most, not the lesser. Trash like the fuck for $40 in the club. Fucking up the game, bitch, it gets no love. She be cross country, giving all that she got. 1,000 a pop, I'm pulling business off the lot. I smashed up the gray one, bought me a red. Every time we hit the parking lot, we turn head. Some hoes wanna choose, but them bitches too scary. Your bitch chose me, you ain't a pimp, you a fairy.
A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
Baby, you been rolling solo, time to get down with the team. The grass is greener on that other side, if you know what I mean. I show you shit you never seen, the 7 wonders of the world. And I can make you the 8th if you wanna be my girl. I say my girl, I don't mean my woman, that ain't my style. Need a real street stalker, walk a green mile. Piling up the paper on the dining room table, cause you able to realize I'm the truth and not a fable. Baby, rockin' Russian sable, keep that chiller on the rack. What I look like with some $1,000 shit up on my back. I'm $1 million man that need $1 billion bitch. Put my pimpin' in your life, watch your daddy get rich. Easy as ABC, simple as 1, 2, 3. Get down with UGK, Pimp CBU with B. Cause what's a hoe with no pimp, and what's a pimp with no hoe? Don't be a lame, you know the game and how it goes. We try to get chose.
A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Artie of Artie's Corporate Fiction with a very, very special episode tonight. Tonight we have the legends of the last week and a half, if not longer, the showrunners of Our Nevada Judges and their YouTube channel. You know, famous for such films as Kim Blandino, Roger Hilligus, and Michael McDonald. So we are here to have a little chat, discuss with them, you know, the recent explosion of success and notoriety they've been getting, as well as, you know, kind of a little bit more of a introduction to, you know, why they did this, where they got started, and so on. So I want to thank both Alex and Brittany for coming on to chat with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
So, I mean, the first things first. I mean, we just talked about it before we went live, but how you guys holding up over the last couple of days?
Doing a lot better now. Wednesday was the toughest day. Basically, stream for 8 hours, edit for 8 hours, and it's tough if people only knew. But it's very worth it. It's very worthwhile because the channel engagement and the views and watch time minutes are definitely, they skyrocket when we do that kind of stuff. So it's we're holding up well now. We got some sleep. We're doing good.
Got some rest for sure.
Right on. So what was that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say part 3 is publishing right now as we speak, so it should pop up any minute now.
Right on. So what time? Sorry, not what time. So, you know, I guess the first thing I do want to say is to kind of start with from the beginning. Like, what made you want to, you know, start this channel, you know, in the first place?
Okay, so I had to represent myself in a child custody dispute, and it took about 8 years to resolve the child custody dispute. And through the process, I ended up filing multiple appeals, and I won 3 appeals by myself without an attorney, and I was published separately on a writ petition. So towards the end, when I graduated, I noticed that there wasn't really any resource out there that kept track of how often judges make mistakes. And that actually was all that Our Nevada Judges was when I first created it. 2014, all it did was just keep track of all of the reversals and affirmances and the writ petitions and all that. It wasn't until 2019 that I decided to take a look at trying to broadcast our first case, and that was the state of Nevada versus Michael McDonald. And the only reason I even decided to do that was because just through the ordinary function of my website, an appeal came down in 2017, and it talked about camera access to court proceedings, Solid versus 8th Judicial District Court. So I read that and I thought, you know, the Supreme Court has these rules. They really seem to want this stuff to be published and recorded. And I just kind of held that in the back of my mind because we're talking 2017. I didn't do anything with it till, as I mentioned, 2019. And it was just sort of the perfect storm. It was the Supreme Court rules. It was the publication, which gave me the confidence. It made me think, okay, this is something they seem to really be pushing on the judges here. And then the state of Nevada versus Michael McDonald had an audience that was built up already by Michael McDonald himself. He's the one that built that up. And I thought this is, the perfect case. And so we gave it a shot. Just to give you an idea of how naive I was, I thought it would be a one-day thing. I had no idea that accepting, doing a media request on that would be 4 or 5 days. I don't remember how long it was, but it went well. And ever since then, because of that case and how well it went, we went into all the other cases. And here we are now. I'm publishing various cases from various different districts in Nevada.
So this has just been a part-time gig for you guys, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So in that regard, did you? I guess I would say probably your first big case, if I had to guess based on how I was looking at it, your first big one was Michael McDonald, and that's its own rabbit hole. And honestly, it's a little bit even too big for me to tap into. And I know a lot of other creators attack onto this. Probably the most infamous one, and the one where you guys were called out specifically by his attorney, was when Mr. McDonald decided to have a fit, involving him being remanded for violating the terms of his release. And so, was that one of the first times where you guys were called out specifically by opposing counsel, or has there been other instances of that?
Yeah, that was the first time because that was our first case. And I think that Mr. Mueller, which was his defense attorney, felt that if the camera wasn't there, his client wouldn't have done what he did. I think that's sort of his thinking, because we had a hearing before that hearing and there were no objections. We recorded it just fine. So that hearing happened. There was a fight in the court. I guess you could call it a physical struggle in the courtroom.
Physical altercation. Yeah, there you go.
Let's call it that. And then, because there were no fists thrown or kicks or anything like that. It was just he wouldn't put the cuffs on. But ever since that hearing, I don't know if I want to say he blamed us. I don't know if he cared if he blamed us. He just didn't want us there. He attributed that to the cameras, and that we were confronted quite a few times in that trial. Some written objections, and I think you might have seen 5 or 6 different times during the proceedings themselves when he pointed at us, and he had some harsh words. There was one time he was really upset because I guess he was giving an opening. No, he was doing a cross-examination, and he was checking on his phone, and he actually saw the comments from the live stream of his own cross-examination.
No.
He well, we got it live, so you can see for yourself.
Oh, really?
He says to the court. Go ahead.
Because it was probably a long time ago. I remember watching a bunch of the Yell's videos, and it was during the main 2 trials that you were covering, right? Because there was 2 cases that y'all were covering simultaneously. I don't remember. I think I was probably listening in while I was doing other work and everything, because that's usually what I end up doing. Is I just listen in on the trial while I'm doing something, because these things last a long time. So I imagine I may have missed that in the course of it, but I didn't realize that he called you guys out in the middle of a live stream for comments that he was getting from viewers, I guess.
He complained to the judge right then and there while on the stream that he's like, they're talking about my cross-examination right now.
That's funny. I was the one behind the camera, and I don't even remember that. It's been so long.
I remember that. The one thing I don't forget. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
And the one thing I don't forget is objections to camera access. Those just sear into my mind. They're very frustrating because we're not trying to interfere with or manipulate any of the parties or the attorneys. And it just is very frustrating for us because it just makes it that much harder to get the content to all of you. So
I understand that. I mean, well, part of me, when I think I've seen other cases like that, and I've seen other cases where there were objections involving, and I think a lot of them involved family matters. And I can see from the point of view of the attorneys of, at least in family issues, because it's always very contentious. It's always very gross. I guess the better way of saying it. It can involve a lot of really facts that, yes, it's part of the public record, but at the same time, it's also understanding that, it's not like people are going to be actively looking for this particular divorce hearing, but then if they find out that it's going to be posted on YouTube, it's kind of something else. So I understand where they're coming from, but at the end of the day, it's really up to, them to make the argument that, there needs to be an exception here. So going into, I guess, more recent trials is, I feel like while Michael McDonald, I think, was the first one that really kind of put you guys out there, at least somewhat. I think Mr. Blandino especially has, and then thereafter Mr. Hilligus has been the two cases that have really put yourselves in the limelight. So, like, what can you tell me about, when you first discovered, this Blandino case, and what made you feel that, like, this would be something to pay attention to?
I remember seeing a video either on the Nevada Court Watchers Facebook group or on the Veterans in Politics group. There was a video that I saw from some other source, and it was a Kim Blandino video. And I just remember seeing that the judges were upset at Kim Blandino and the way that he was acting in court. And I thought this is a good example of showing the public a vexatious litigant situation, because I just hadn't covered anything like that yet. And that was quite, a while ago. I think it might have been the third or fourth, maybe fifth case that I submitted a media request on. So that's all that I thought it was. I didn't realize how bad it was until later. So at the time, that's what it was. I just saw, other channels had some published content on State versus Kim Blandino, and that was enough for me.
So basically, you kind of saw it like everybody else saw it, where we stumbled upon, whether for me it was the court cam case highlight, and then from there on it was Mike covering it, and then what's funny is a lot of the videos that I found that part of my series, somebody else had already had enough of an interest in Blandino that they made their own YouTube playlist of all of the Kim Blandino videos that they found online. And I used that as the staging point, and I just tried to put them all in chronological order for my series. Just go through the whole thing. And so I think he's, what personal views of him aside, he's a character, and I think that's really what makes it most appealing, is that he definitely has an unmistakable character to him that you can't help but want to watch, for better or worse. So I guess because of the lead up to the trial, I know you guys already touched on it, but how difficult has it been for you guys to keep up with, covering the trial while also, kind of balancing, your regular day jobs?
So go ahead if you want to talk about your schooling, because Brittany's a full-time student.
Yeah, what's been helpful right now is a lot of the hearings are still remote. So we haven't been having to travel down and make that hour drive sometimes to the courthouse. And my schooling's remote, so it's kind of been easy. Kim hasn't been showing up to court really, or he hasn't been allowed in the courthouse, so we had less of an incentive to go down there. So it's actually been pretty easy at the moment. It's when trial starts that it gets pretty tedious and the days get long.
And then for me, I'm a software engineer for Amazon, so I work remote. So if we have to leave to like Carson City or Reno, I can just work from there anyway. And it's not really a situation where you have to be working from exactly 8 to exactly 5 either. We have tasks to do and we get them done. So it helps that I work remote and that I have this kind of a flexible job.
That's definitely always
then we have
helpful.
helpers.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, it's good. I hate to try and like kind of pivot a little bit, but allegedly people are talking about some sort of dance that Kim Blandino has done. I don't know anything about this. I'm actually kind of in the flying in blind. What is this about? I didn't really pay attention to yesterday's proceedings, so I assume that's something in there that happened.
Yeah, Brittany, you can talk about it.
A lot of times when there's a recess, we'll keep the camera rolling, but we'll shut off, the audio. There's no need to hear the discussion. But apparently, I remember at one point, because I'm still hearing what's going on, but I'm doing something, I can hear Kim telling a joke to, I think it was Michael Dickerson, the prosecutor. And I couldn't tell you what the joke is, but I just know how animated Kim is. The next thing I know, we were driving home and he tells me that there was this, short made, and he shows me the video, and I could immediately remember that it would have been that joke that he was telling Dickerson.
Oh,
So
no.
every time we have a recess, he tells the prosecutor a joke. And, it's pretty interesting. I kind of like how, the first day it's kind of stuffy, the first day of trial. Second day is a little stuffier. By the third day, everybody gets a little bit more relaxed, a
Right.
little more communicative. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It's
All right,
They're very
I'm gonna-
standoffish
So
on day
we should
one.
probably show you somehow.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know how to do that on here.
No, Artie said he was
Oh,
gonna-
I'm sorry.
He had something.
Well, let me. All right. What's his face? Just put that. Oh, wrong. I need a.
There's a couple different ones. There's some with better music, some with not so good music, but it's funny nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see here. Copy link address. Oh boy. Let me see. Oh no, that's not it. I'm gonna have to look for it later. If somebody, unless somebody put it into my Discord, chat. Maybe they did. I can't see it, but we'll figure it out later. But so okay, so now everybody's asking whether or not I could turn that into a super chat animation. I guess so. I may, at the same time, Mr. Blandino may have an issue with that. Who knows? But we'll have to figure that one out later. I don't want to keep you guys going. So, going on to Mr. Hillegas, can you give us an update on what's going on with Mr. Hillegas? Because I keep hearing multiple different claims that he's still on the lam, or has been caught, or he still needs to be brought into the trial. What can you tell me about Mr. Hillegas' situation?
So there were two different rumors that he was caught, but I could tell by the source of those rumors that it was probably not true. And as far as I know, he's not. He still has a bench warrant out, and he's still he hasn't been apprehended. And then Stewart recently had a hearing on, I think, the 1st of March. I don't know if you want me to talk about that too, but
Yeah, go ahead.
so we have the footage from the March one. It's fine. We have the footage from the March 1 hearing, and I'm about to actually publish that one later. But there are some problems that I'm seeing with it. This is the first time that we've had to pool with other media outlets, and so this is the first experience that I've had doing this. Channel 4 and Channel 8 both showed up. So the court had us pool cameras. Channel 8 actually took over and shot the footage, but they only recorded the first half of the proceedings. So I think that might be a little frustrating. And then there are, I guess, what I would call hiccups. So they didn't do it on purpose. Apparently, they just didn't know that we wanted all of the footage. This is what they're saying. They've tried very hard to communicate with us. They're not ignoring us. I get the sentiment that they feel bad about it, and I don't think it'll be a problem going forward. The news directors called me a couple of times, but that is something that's going to be a little disappointing when we publish that, and we'll go ahead and publish it. My understanding is that the gag orders were granted in part, denied in part, and that the bail was reduced, but I don't know any of the details, and until I edit that footage, I won't know. Or if I get copies of the order, because there is an order there, but we don't have it. So there's your update on Hillegas.
Right on. Well, I'm very excited for that, especially considering I saw his very first appearance, and for him to just fall full blown deep into that rabbit hole, especially when I've also caught some of his other footage, especially with the gag order that was issued. They had links to YouTube videos of him being interviewed by other alternative media, I guess the best way of saying it, other sources and everything. And it looks like we have our last guest of the evening who just arrived. This is Debbie. Is Debbie here?
I'm getting there.
Hello.
Creepy. Hey,
What?
how's it
Yeah.
going?
Oh my God. You look like you're
I
about to
know,
get slashed
know.
by Freddy. So
I know. I have some excuses, but you probably don't want to hear them. And it involves being in Shipshewana, Indiana, with a lot of people that don't have the interwebs or, access. So it's interesting. Now I got to figure out how to change my view
well,
here.
you're just in time because I was able to finally get
Oh,
get
good.
a clip of this alleged Blandino dance, and I'm about to share it because I haven't seen it myself.
I'm so excited.
So this is a total world premiere. So give me 1 second.
Don't mind me swiping. She'll sort of like, okay, I'm good. I can see you. This is exciting.
There we go. All right. All right, let's listen in.
You haven't seen it yet?
Oh, no.
This is Marty's first time, I can tell.
Oh my God.
You would never know he was like in a trial.
Oh my
I need
God.
to turn the volume down. It's intense.
Yeah. All right.
That was a lot.
Yeah, that was actually pretty wild. All right, I'm
It
sorry,
reminded me of,
guys.
like,
I know
Thriller hands.
Yeah, I apologize. Sorry, guys, you couldn't see the video. Crap. I'll have
I
to.
saw it.
What do you mean you couldn't see? I saw the video.
Well,
Yeah, I
no,
saw it too.
the audience, my audience couldn't see it. That was the issue. I'll have to figure that out later. I apologize to you guys.
Well, you shared your screen? They should be able to, right? I mean,
Yeah. I'm still working the kinks out with Zoom, so I'll figure that out later. But
I
anyway,
mean, I'm not the techie person of the group here, so
yeah.
good luck.
So I'm gonna have to,
Mike.
I'll make do. I promise, guys. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. Anyway, so Deborah, I know that you've been a little bit more versed into Blandino from a couple days ago when you were on with Mike, and so that was one of the highlights of the previous of yesterday's proceedings. So I was asking that them.
That's a lot of waiting to get like a decent clip.
Yeah, no, and that was the other thing that we were talking about. We talked about briefly yesterday. That, especially when I appreciate Out Nevada judges showing this because, yeah, welcome to trials. It's not all excitement and Tom Cruise getting grilling what's his face on the stand, or
You can't handle the truth.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or it's not
Yeah.
it's not
There's not those
Mike
moments.
it's not Marissa Tomei getting grilled by Vinny. So it's all very mundane, very oftentimes seemingly repetitive questioning. It sounds tedious as all hell, but ultimately most of the time it's very important to get all of this evidence out and testimony out, but you're not going to see a lot of the exciting stuff. So whether it is or it isn't, oh gosh, and I'm getting Comcasted. I apologize to you guys. Comcasted is a term of
Don't know what
art
that
in my.
means.
I've turned it into a verb when Comcast, which is my internet provider, decides
Oh.
that it doesn't want to play nice with me anymore when it comes to upload speeds, and so I end up getting throttled for no apparent reason other than for them to just mess my stream up. So that's what getting Comcasted means. So.
Nice.
So yeah, so I was
Very
just
good.
yeah. So I wanted to point that out. At least I wanted that, whether for better or worse, yes, this is what trials are really like. You're not always going to get a dancing Blandino meme out of it, or you're only going to get a minute's worth of excitement out of a 5-hour trial, a 5-hour day of trial. And I think
Yeah.
you're not,
Yeah.
and I think ultimately I agree that it's not going to get too exciting until Mr. Blandino himself goes on the stand. So I want to ask you guys, when do you think that we'll be able to see that?
What's the timeline for that?
That should be Monday at 9. That's the next thing up.
Blandino himself?
That was discussed at the last hearing. Yeah.
Oh, so
he's gonna testify.
the state. Oh, that's right, because the state
Why
had
wouldn't
rested
he,
and they
right?
filed. Yeah,
Hmm.
the state had rested and they tried to
Yeah.
file the motion to dismiss after the end of the state's case, right?
I mean, that's
Right.
typical though. I'm not gonna
It's
fault him
standard.
for that. Like that's
No,
that's
no, I don't blame it either. That's
standard move. I know people get
Yeah.
all offended by it.
really, like,
The only real discussion I think was on. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
The only real discussion was, yeah, there's a delay, but the only real discussion that I saw was, I guess there's a question as to whether the state can bring up his prior conviction, and there was some argument on whether the state could do that. And if I recall, Judge Levitt said that the default position is no. They can, I guess, mention that he has a conviction, but they can't go into the details. And if there's this concern from defense, from Ben Bateman, that Kim Blandino might, when he takes the stand, open that door on accident somehow. That's the my general understanding as a non-attorney as to what the real discussion was. There never seemed to be a, will you take the stand or not? There seemed to be a, if you do take the stand, can the state talk about your past conviction? That seemed to be what the debate was over.
Well, I mean, typically that's something that is dealt with a pretrial motion. So, I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised that it hasn't been something that before it ever got to trial, you would file like a motion in limine to say, hey, I want to bring this up. Here's the case law and the statute or rules of evidence behind it. And then the defense has a chance to respond, and then the judge listens so that you're not kind of holding up trial midway through when you've got a jury sitting in the back room, because of the things that can't be discussed in front of the jury, obviously. So I guess it's a little surprising that they didn't do this ahead of time. Artie, same thought for you? Or?
Yeah, I most of the time those kinds of questions would be, handled before all this began. So, and I think I did notice in when we were discussing before the motions in limine, those, and at least in the Nevada rules, it's being pretty obvious from the language that those are supposed to be hammered out before trial, and that the judge seems to have a very high deference for saying no anytime somebody tries to make an oral motion or something like that in limine, in the middle of a trial. It just seems like, based on the language, they're not supposed to be done, in the midst of one.
Well, and I think the whole point is you take care of all the stuff that you know about that is going to be an issue. Now, if something comes up that you did not know before trial, then yeah, like an oral motion to do, ask the jury to be excused, and you do your thing. But this should not be something that is being brought up now after the state has rested. Like, defense-wise, I would have wanted to know that well before we decided strategy on whether my person was testifying or not. So I guess it surprises me a lot that they didn't handle this ahead of time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it would probably come down to whether, I think the state, if I recall in a previous hearing, that he wanted, it was after, I can't remember whether it was before or after he's lost his right to self-representation, that the state, Dickerson, wanted to talk to the judge, or brought up to the judge, like, hey, if he's going to testify, I don't want Blandino to go off on his personal crusade to root out corruption in the 8th district. I want to make sure that we have a foundation here that he's only going to talk about the circumstances of his case and not let him, pontificate while he's on the stand. I recall Dickerson bringing that up. I don't think that the judge went very much further than that, though. So maybe that's what the issue's been.
A side note, a Ghostbusters car just drove by. You can't make this stuff up.
Why didn't you take a picture?
Because it's dark out, and I thought it was a cop at first. I'm like, whoa. And it's not. It's like a PT Cruiser that has a Ghostbusters like a logo, and then like something on the top of it that guys,
Man,
I can't right now. Okay,
the Midwest is wild.
It's the Midwest, just cornfields here, but
and Ghostbusters
anyway,
cars.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about too, and Ghostbusters cars. I'm telling you, if you're a Snapchat friend of mine, you're going to see a lot of things, and It's not meant for
I don't
the
need to
whole
see
world, but
goats
anyway.
birthing. That's I already said I was cool.
Hey,
That's
I have not checked in on them since I left a few hours ago. So I'm leaving that off. I'm not live streaming that. I don't want to
not yet, apparently.
Not yet. No, I mean, there.
I mean,
will be,
hey,
though,
you know,
because there's a camera in the barn.
those family farm channels are popping off. You know, you might have yourself a niche
I
there.
know. I'm telling you, this is like it's really taken off, man. But anyway, going back to this whole trial, it just when he lost his right to self-representation, I thought that might actually take the edge off of his whole crusade, right? Because now you don't have the right to just get up and say whatever you want to say. And you can't even represent yourself. You have somebody else that is, versed in law that has to. But it really hasn't. So I guess he's just, sticking by his morals on this.
I honestly, I had him pegged that that if he lost his right to self-representation, especially based on the actual hearing that was in December, when he lost it, that he was going to find some other way to frustrate the process. And of course, he tried to get his attorney out. His own attorney wanted out, and the judge was like, no, we already can tell that this is another tactic by Blandino to frustrate the process and delay it even more. We're not gonna play this game anymore. So it seemed pretty clear to me.
Let's be honest. Have you ever wanted to get out of a case and the judge didn't let you?
I mean, I can't say that I've had that experience.
Once or twice. Well, like, I wanted out of the case just as much as the person wanted me out, and the judge is like, nope. I mean, it's kind of hard to come back from that when you're like, yeah, I don't like you either, but apparently I'm going to have to continue here. So, and I don't remember whatever came of the cases. I didn't get grieved or anything, so that's cool. I think, we probably just like repaired our relationship, like agree to disagree, and let's just get this over with and finish your case. But that really, for an attorney, is the pits when the judge says, no, I'm not letting you out. Also, it's like when somebody stops paying you and that's the reason you want out, and the judge is like, no. So then you're working for free.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not
right.
ideal. I feel for that attorney.
No, I do. I there's only so much you can do in this Bateman situation. But I also, there was no doubt in my mind that Blandino was going to, that he was going to continue with his antics, that there was no way that, he would cool off when he lost it. He would just find another way, because this has been based on how far I've been digging into his case. This has been his MO. Like, he's had a particular vendetta against this 8th judicial district for a very long time, and it stems far beyond from his kidnapping criminal charge to his family custody situation. This has been his thing. So what losing his right to self-representation was going to change it.
Does he have a job? Like, does he have some sort of employment that he is missing out on by having to sit through all these hearings? And
I don't know.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I'm pretty sure that he doesn't, and the only reason I say that is because it was actually brought up at the restraining orders. I don't know if it was protective order, stalking, harassment hearing between him and Dickerson. Sorry, Michael Federico, not Michael Dickerson. And that was mentioned by Michael Federico. He asked Judge Jansen.
Yeah.
So that can,
I remember that line. Yeah, as part of the conditions, as part of his 30-day condition. Can you also put in there that he can actually go find gainful employment as a condition for his stay?
So because of that hearing,
keep his mind occupied.
Yeah.
I do remember that bit.
How do people survive like that, though? How do you survive without working? I've worked since I was a kid. I just don't get how people.
Which is also the other thing too, because that's the other, I agree, because the other part of one of the reasons why he would advocate for him to stay out of jail was because he was acting as a caretaker for an elderly woman that he
Oh,
cares for.
Lord.
So
Oh,
how?
that poor woman.
So if he's
Is
not
APS involved
employed,
in that?
I don't know. But if he's not,
Ugh.
employed, how is he caring for her? I mean, that's kind of a question I have. But you know,
He's
it's-
probably collecting money for caring for her. That's a job kind
The
of
thing,
for him.
yeah.
I mean, it is a very important job. I'm not saying that caregiving for older adults is not. That is a very difficult job.
right.
But he doesn't seem to have the disposition to be doing that. I mean, just from what I'm seeing, and I would, yeah, be concerned that he's just like collecting a paycheck for doing the bare minimum and
Mhm.
you know, surfing the interwebs and making up crazy ideas.
Well, I think Brittany actually
gainful
heard
employment would be
something
good.
about that. I can't remember if it was on the
Yeah.
record or go ahead.
He
You
actually
heard something
excused
about
himself a couple times over the week because his roommate was having some issues with her blood pressure or her heart rate, and he actually excused himself before we were about to start the trial again after recess because he had to give her a call. I could hear her on the phone in like the space between the outside where you wait in the courtroom. I don't know what they call that area.
Mhm.
Yeah, she exists. I've actually met her once.
Oh,
It was
really?
a different.
Oh,
Yeah, it was. We were at the Supreme Court recording oral arguments for a different case, and he showed up, you know, to be an audience member, and I just happened to be walking in when they were getting out of the car, and yeah, she's super old, super sweet, but she exists, and they seem to have a nice, you know, friendship.
well, then that's good. Hopefully,
Yeah.
he's taking good care of her. So.
Yeah.
So
Maybe something to occupy his mind would be a good
Mhm.
thing, like a different job in addition to that one.
yeah,
Mhm.
kinda. I mean, again, part of his origin story for this entire thing was him trying to introduce himself into other people's cases, and apparently, so clearly he has a lot of time on his hands to involve himself in someone else's cases that he has nothing to do with. But I do have a question, a couple of questions from the live stream. One of them is, does our Nevada judges have an insight to how long a trial is going to last ahead of time?
it
You know,
depends.
the judge will.
Go ahead.
The judge will usually say this will be about 3 days or 5 days, what they expect it to be. And then we kind of gauge as it progresses.
Mhm.
We could tell that this wasn't going to be done on Friday because we knew, you know, Kim was going to talk and, you know, the jury has to deliberate. So we were thinking Monday, at the very latest Tuesday, but I'm pretty sure Monday. But yeah, we just kind of go off of what the judge says and what we hear throughout the trial.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. I think both parties, both counsel and the judge, will kind of give each other an estimate as to how long it's going to be, and they kind of work that out. Another question I have: during the Blandino trial, they were told by the judge that they could not take notes, but they had to rely on their memory. Why is that? I don't remember seeing that in the trial.
Oh, that's an admonition to the jury. Apparently, that might be better for an attorney to answer. Yeah.
Don't
Okay,
they take
so I
notes
guess-
in their folders?
Yeah, they take notes in
So-
their folders. So go ahead.
They have
So
their
we-
own folder.
We used to there was some jury reform that happened in Michigan several years ago. I'm trying to remember if it's probably been like 6 or 7 years, but prior to this jury reform, jurors were not allowed to take notes at all. You had to sit there and listen. And then once it was all done, you could ask to see an exhibit, or I think you get asked to have them replay a witness's testimony, but like it had to be start to finish for that witness. And then when the jury reform happened, it made it so that they can even ask questions, but the questions have to come through they have to write the question. It goes to the judge to see if it's an appropriate question. Then the prosecutor and the defense come up to the bench and they discuss, like, here's what the question is. Anybody object? If no, we go back and sit down and the judge reads the question. It is super tedious, but it definitely helps. And I'm looking back at, this was when I was in defense and it was a murder trial. I could see where the jury was questioning parts of the case or like buying into parts of the case, if that makes sense. So it gives you a nice way to read what they're thinking, because when they couldn't ask questions and they just had to sit there and not take notes, you're relying on people to pay attention to very minute details over an 8-hour period and several days of 8-hour periods. And when they couldn't ask questions, I had no idea if they were like, yeah, that's not working for me, or oh, they're getting that they're all like gang names. That's cool. All right, so they're realizing that this person is, potentially involved in a gang. So it must be that Nevada does not allow for these questions or any sort of written notes for the jurors.
Which was odd, because during McDonald coverage, the jury did ask a bunch of questions.
They did. I
But
remember
none-
that.
Yeah, but none during Blandino.
I do remember that.
Is
I
it
do remember the
both,
judge
like,
making those.
circuit court or both district court?
Both
Is
districts,
it
same
something different with
district.
that? That's weird.
It is
Yeah.
weird. I wonder
do-
if they forgot to ask the jury if they had questions. Alex and I were just talking about this right before getting on here.
Hmm.
We'll see. I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
One question is, why did Ben Bateman move to dismiss the one charge? I believe, if I recall watching a bit of that, it was to dismiss the impersonation charge. I couldn't tell you. Because unfortunately I didn't really pay too much attention to yesterday's proceedings. The impersonation charge is the lesser charge out of the two, because extortion is the one that has a minimum of 1 year to 10 years to a maximum of 10 years in prison, whereas the impersonation is 364 days in jail. I don't know. I think if I'm going to wager a guess, is that Bateman probably relied on the idea that, based on the testimony from the representative from the commission, is that by then they knew that Blandino was not, or that they did not employ investigators. So there was no way for Blandino to employ, a public officer that didn't exist. I couldn't tell you. That would be my guess as to why Bateman tried to dismiss that charge. I don't know. All I do know is that the judge didn't buy it, whatever argument he tried to make.
And for sure, they do have investigators. Maybe it's a distinction between employment versus contractor or something.
Oh, they do
The
have
commission
investigators. I
does.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do have investigators, because they end up, they were brought up during some of the other coverage that we did, because we've covered the Commission on Judicial Discipline's proceedings. We've covered 2 different prosecutions of judges, and there were investigations, and they for sure have investigators. Maybe they just have one or something. Maybe they just have one guy that they contract, something like that. I don't know.
Or, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's Kim Blandino. Duh.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Hold on.
You just asked the wrong person that works there.
Unpaid volunteer. Remember that.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously he's
Yeah.
volunteering his time,
Yeah.
Could
Yeah,
another question I got is that, could this, I guess, this being maybe Blandino's actions in court, lead to more charges? Because I could see a lot more charges coming. I don't know. Because I mean, Blandino hasn't even spoken yet, so I'm not sure whether what has been
You're
testified to
talking
can.
perjury charges?
Yeah, I don't
mean,
think
maybe.
against Blandino, I don't think so. Against other people, I don't think so either. So we'll have to wait until we hear Blandino take the stand, but even then, I'm not sure it's gonna lead to more charges.
I mean, he could totally perjure himself, right?
True,
There's
he
gotta be a
could.
chance.
He hasn't gotten the opportunity yet. We'll find out on Monday, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we know if Blandino got into any legal trouble while he was in jail? I think we would have known that if that happened.
You mean like fights inside the jail or something, or like further charges from before he got in?
I don't know. The question isn't that's all the question says.
Not
so
specifying it.
yeah.
I mean, I will say that I sometimes go and look at the jail logs, which are obviously not for the general public, but law enforcement can look. And it does matter to me if somebody is repeatedly getting in fights or being disrespectful to the corrections officers for sentencing purposes. I often will bring that up. And in felonies, if you get in a fight in the jail, even if you don't get charged for it, it never makes it into like a criminal case. But if it's documented, it can add points on for your sentencing guidelines. So I don't know. It's interesting to me when I read the jail incident logs. Some of them are more entertaining than others, I guess.
I did see somebody in the link me in the chat asking about how Bateman objected only one time in the first 2 days. Mike and Natalie were losing it because they would have objected to so many things. I mean, you never know. I mean, you could talk about whether or not Bateman had already phoned it in, but I mean, I don't put him on blast for that, but yeah, I could see that too, because there are a lot of instances during the state's questioning that was leading in a lot of places. Like, I'm not even a trial attorney, and even I wanted to object a few times there.
But okay, so the difference is, though, not every leading question is an improper leading. So an improper leading question is, didn't you see him do X, Y, and Z, right? Because you're saying like the answer. But if it's a yes or no question, but it's somewhat leading, it's not an improper leading question because you're not suggesting the answer. So I know people get all in a yank about leading. It's like, you can lead to an extent, and as long as you're not suggesting the answer, then you're not really leading improperly.
I mean, yeah, I see that. But I imagine there are other bits maybe, but I feel like the times where I thought I could have objected, would it really have changed substantively of the ultimate narrative that's being said? Not really. It would most of the time it would have been maybe relevance, but it really, I mean, most of the times I can think of, I don't think it really would have changed much of anything, even if you would have objected, even if they were sustained. The judge would probably just simply ask the state to rephrase the question.
Right. And then the other thing is, you don't want to alienate yourself to the jury by objecting continuously, because it's annoyance.
Uh-oh.
So
Freddy Krueger
it's an
got
annoyance to people when you are continually objecting to things, and it interrupts the flow. Still there? Sorry, give me a second.
We can hear you.
There we go.
There we go.
It's okay. It just went off. Like, yeah. That's, again, the interwebs through my car. Insane. Look, just Google Shipshewana, Indiana, and then you'll understand exactly why I'm sitting in my car.
Yeah.
So
one question I do see, while in prison, will he be able to get some help for his narcissism? Because I definitely see it coming out. No, absolutely not. Kim Blandino is the kind of guy who will absolutely be that jailhouse lawyer who will help anybody who will listen to him. Because he was doing that already on the outside.
So many motions.
Oh, yeah.
So many motions, so many briefs. I mean, he'll be trading some ramen noodles for briefs like on the daily. I can see it now. They're going to get the chocolate lovers pack to him through the commissary in exchange for some sort of motion.
He knows enough that I imagine many inmates are going to look to him for advice. He knows just enough that people are going to look to him for advice because they'll think he knows what he's talking about. So no, absolutely, I think his ego is going to be fed voraciously on the inside if he's found guilty and is sentenced to prison.
However, I mean, what is the likelihood of prison on these charges? I don't know exactly what the charges are, what the maximums are, or what their sentencing guidelines are in Nevada. But if you have a fairly clean record here, you gotta be really bad in order to go to prison the first time.
I feel like he's already gotten like 3 to 4 months time served. I can't imagine him getting more than a year, maybe 2 years.
And I mean, like, severity wise in the grand scheme of things? I mean, is that why? Did they offer him a plea deal? Does anybody
Oh
know?
yeah,
Like, if,
they offer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
several.
yeah. And they were
Okay.
pretty sweetheart deals, right? Can you do you guys remember what the terms were?
I don't.
I vaguely recall that it was letting the extortion go in exchange for the impersonation, but I might be wrong.
That's
I
like
do
a
know
1
that.
year max. That's crazy. Why
Yeah,
wouldn't you
or
take
it may
that?
have even been better than that. So don't quote me on that. It may have just been like probation only or something like that.
Oh yeah, like time served and probation on the 1 year. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Something like
I
that.
can see
yeah.
that. But he's
Uh,
digging in those heels
Oh yeah,
and dancing and digging in
and
those heels.
dancing. I guess this is for our Nevada judges. Is this the most annoying person that you had to deal with in a trial? If not, who has been the most annoying person you've had to deal with? Question for our Nevada judges and Debbie.
He's not the most annoying to us. In fact, he's actually pretty respectful to us. I guess the most annoying would be probably Todd Matthew Phillips from the case Todd Matthew Phillips.
Yeah, but
versus
that was a
Mark
trial. He
Sierra.
said trial.
Oh, for trial, we've only had two. So then it would be
but there
Michael
still is
McDonald's
one that
trial.
trumps him. I would say Mueller was pretty annoying.
That's definitely more.
It was another
Kim
attorney. Yeah.
Kim hasn't really bothered us that much. The case has been way easier to cover than the state of Nevada versus McDonald. So if it's between those two trials, then I would say the state of Nevada versus McDonald was tougher. I mean, maybe he's more annoying to the judges and the attorneys, but he hasn't been that way towards us at all. We've been treated worse in State v. McDonald, and it wasn't even that bad, just comparatively speaking.
Another question: what happened when Blandino tried to serve Federico this week? Do you know what charges? Well, I guess claims or accusations Blandino was suggesting. I assume by serve it means he was trying to serve him like civil suit. Serve him a civil suit.
It was some kind of. The only thing I know about that is there's a federal suit that Kim Blandino filed against Federico. I don't know what the details of the suit are, and I know that he tried to serve him with a third party. I'm not 100% sure who the third party was at the actual day 2, I think, of our trial. Basically, Federico came back to take the stand, and that's when Mr. Blandino tried to serve him, and the prosecution put a stop to it, citing a statute. That was actually,
Right.
if it's not in,
That's funny.
yeah, if it's not in part 2, then it's in part 3, which I just published. You'll be able to see that there, because it's discussed outside the presence of the jury, so that we have that on camera.
Good idea. I mean, that's definitely not a way to, get a mistrial, is to serve paperwork in front of the jury for a civil suit. That's nice.
Here's a good question. I don't know if you guys would be able to have the answer for this, but this is a question that I've had in my mind that I would love to ask Mr. Bateman, though, specifically. But why did the judge stop him from wearing that T-shirt on day 1 of the trial?
What are you talking about?
Okay, so
the T-shirt.
Yeah, just for briefly, Blandino, before you came in, Debbie, on the first day of the trial, before the first recess, Blandino wore a red T-shirt that had some phrases on it, and our Nevada judge, you can confirm for us what was said on it, and then from there, can you ask us why he was even allowed to proceed in the first place with that T-shirt on?
I'll let Brittany start because she had observations that I missed. So I guess talk about the observations, hun. And
So
then
it was a red T-shirt that said something along the lines of Trump now, Jesus forever.
And then there was something about Judge Johnson, and then there was something
that was
about,
the day before. That was a white T-shirt. That was, I think, during jury selection, right? That was a white T-shirt. He was taking out evidence, all of his evidence. It was on a hanger, and it said, "Vote Judge Johnson out" or something, and it was, you could tell he made it. It looked like he had spray painted everything and designs and.
Hey, did he use puffy paint?
But he didn't wear it. He just had it on a hanger. I guess he was just gonna show. I don't know what he was gonna do with it. But second day he came in wearing one. Yeah.
He
super weird.
He hung it in a place that the judge couldn't see. I think the bailiff had to point it out because it was. I think he hung it behind the
on
barrier.
the little pony, whatever they call it.
the bar
Braille.
they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the bailiff
So
noticed
that
it and walked up and lifted it, and the judge was like, "What's that?" So
Oh,
that was the
gosh.
first shirt. So there were 2 shirts. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
The second shirt
Huh.
he wore, and I guess they talked about it. And I think you were there for this. Didn't they ask the
And there was
jury
much
if this was
rejoicing.
going to impact their decision?
So they didn't
Remember?
ask the jury, but at one point there was an attorney on in the selection,
Oh yeah.
and
Jury selection
he
was
wanted
still-
to just talk. So he stood up and said, "I find this really offensive." I mean, you could tell the attorney was pissed, you know. I mean, his face was a little red. So needless to say, that attorney was, or that juror was cut.
And
yeah, he was
attorney
pissed.
jurors always get cut. It's really unfair. I wish I could be on jury sometime, but
You know, he
I
might
don't think
not
it's in
have
the
been
cards
had
for
he
me
not
anymore.
been so upset about the shirt, although he did say he would be able to, you know, just follow the facts. But then after that, a bunch of jurors kind of voiced their opinion about the shirt. Most of them didn't like the shirt. Some said, "I don't care." But it was just bad timing, considering what's going on in the world. It was bad timing. I don't know where he was going with that or why he thought it was a good idea. And of course, his attorney, Ben, said, "Don't do that." And he did it. So
Of
Ben's
course.
just
Why
like,
would he
"Oh,
listen to that
God."
attorney he didn't want anyway?
Right.
Well, then
Yeah.
he changed. So he listened afterwards because I mean he was like, "Sorry guys, I'll change out at lunch." So he came back in his suit. I want
Sorry.
to tell Debbie about Chief Justice Gibbons on the jury. Our Chief Justice was on a jury. Nobody
Really?
peremptory, nobody challenged him. They left him on it. They left him on
That's-
it.
So
The Chief
there's
Justice of the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was on a jury, and he was like, "Guys, you might not want me on the jury," and they were like, "We're leaving you on the
Like,
jury."
no,
They
we
left him
trust
on the
you
jury.
explicitly.
Yeah, it was really. I loved reading about that. That was in our news.
For
You
the
just look it
meme
up.
material.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
on there. I remember him saying that he tried to let everyone speak first because he didn't want to like unduly influence them.
You
And I
mean he wasn't the
remember-
foreperson?
He specifically was like, "I am not going to be the fourth." He talked about the reasons why, and I remember he also said something like, there was one point where an improper, I guess, plain error occurred, and he was
Mhm.
about to say something, and he put his.
Was he like, "Hey, object"? Oh
instinctively-
shoot!
Well, it was. He was like,
Sorry,
say
force of habit. Sorry. Sorry.
I mean, I think I'd be like more worried I was going to screw something up as an attorney like that, like some sort of an objection or an evidentiary rule that I didn't do correctly, and it's like, oh God, that guy's going to know. But you know, pretty cool they got to do
It was fun reading about that. It was fun that they left him on it, and it made the papers. So
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Artie, I hate to dip out, but
That's
there's
okay.
a pool party calling my name
Oh.
in there with my kids and
Wow.
my nieces and nephews and all the germs.
Wait,
that
what's the
you can
temperature
handle.
out there in Indiana for a pool party?
It's an inside. pool
Okay,
party.
that's
No,
what I
today was like 66 degrees. It was
Gonna read-
amazing. It was so
Go
pretty
for
out.
a friggin' polar bear
No,
club
this is-
event.
Yeah, no, this is just a petri dish club. You know, that's how they
nice.
work, right? So, but hey, thanks for letting me come on for a minute.
course.
and, you know, creeping people out.
Thank
by
you, Debbie, for
showing up
coming.
like all dark.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for sending me the links. I appreciate it. And your girl's got my number now already, so we'll have
Nice.
to set something up like when I'm not in my car.
Yeah.
You know, hanging out. But
All
it
right.
was nice, you guys. Enjoy. I'll try to catch the rest of this.
Right
when I
on.
get
Bye.
home, so see you
Take care,
later,
Debbie.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I mean, I think that's about we're about getting ready to wrap up anyway. But I want to thank you both for coming on to talk to us. It's very cool to have the insight. I think honestly, I think I mentioned before when I talked to you guys last that ever since I've been following y'all, I've been getting recommended to a lot of other court systems that are live streaming their proceedings. So it's good to see that. I think that's one of the the positives that we can look at when it comes to 2020 and what happened there. That as a result of everybody going into Zoom, I think people decided that it's actually not that hard to live stream proceedings, and they're open to the public anyway. So I hope that this becomes a growing trend. But I think everybody here wants to. In the chat wants to thank you guys. They really loved your insight and you bringing this to us, bringing all this great material to us. and absolutely, we hope we can support you guys even more as we go along.
Thanks, Artie, and your
Thanks for having
commentary
us.
is
Thanks, guys.
appreciated. Thanks, guys.
I should be
Thank
thanking
you.
you guys, honestly. You know, so.
right.
So yes, guys, go ahead and if you haven't already, check them out at Our Nevada Judges. If you have the the means to, please join their membership to help support them, to continue giving this great content. Like I said, I felt I think 2 months ago I joined in because I feel like I got to do something for them. It's the very least I can do for bringing this amazing stuff to us. So please check them out whenever you can.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, I'll take care. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys around.
Okay, see you Monday.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. Mandy, you want to go through the super chat so and then we can wrap this up?
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So I have the Dutch Oil Discussion sent a $19.99 super sticker.
Mm.
I have Pronon 1990 sent a 99-cent super sticker. I have
Thank you.
Joanne Sal sent a $5 super chat. Does it tell me what the super chat was? So she didn't say anything, and that's all we have.
All right. Well, hey, I was able to all right, now you guys can see it. Now we can watch it together before we head out. It is the epic meme dance. And now you guys can see it for yourselves. So let's go ahead and watch it.
There's two. I'll send you the other.
I might have to make this an alert. I have to.
Oh no, there's one to music.
All right, that's the first one.
And with much rejoicing.
Oh, thank you, Pamela Gray, for that $10 super chat.
Okay. Here's the other one.
Where are you sending it to?
To your Discord, I just sent it.
All right. Well, I can't see it because again, as you know, I have to download it first.
Oh, that's
so
right.
I don't have time in it. But it's okay. Thank you guys again for joining us. I think Marvel Girl is starting right about now, so go ahead and check her out. And I'm probably going to be going live on my gaming channel with some Elden Ring because you guys know I've been on that jazz. So if you guys want to see me, check out my gaming channel from there. And yeah, have a good night, guys. See ya.
A simp, not a simp. A simp, not a simp. A simp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine
My
partners.
bitch a choose